Hello again, welcome back. And that lecture we're gonna talk about actually and how can we merge and mist face. And after that, let me turn back to here to and the handle and the that's area. Okay, to be able to handle this area, actually, I'm gonna turn to 2D and then maybe we should click here. Maybe I just need to create as a 15. Okay. And after that, actually, we can turn to the curve on the edge options. We can select that space. Oops. As you can see here, when I am selecting that face and all that stuff is created actually automatically. Anyway, and let me delete this one. Okay. So we need to select that space. And that's created automatically here. And let me create this one as well. Okay. Let me turn back to the top view to see what I did. And then we just need to create for and this area. And just need to click here and that space and this area. Okay. And that's perfect. Maybe we should also use the modify length and we can also modify our line and the 10 millimeters for here. We can also extend my line like this, and then we can turn to the trim two entities and delete and trim this one and this one. At that point, actually, it's also possible to use the open pocket, or we can also use actually, and we can also close that area, or maybe we can also use the actually open pocket. Okay, let me use and the shorten options to back here, and then maybe we should extend only 1 millimeter. Let me turn back to here as a shorten. And then hit the blue one and then load options for this one. And then let me turn to the top view again. And then modify it and 1 millimeter extension. Okay, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna use the right mouse button and mill toolpath and pocket operation. And then I just need to select that chain here. We can turn to the tool. That tool actually and can be selected. And I almost forgot. Okay, let me cancel that operation. So it is also possible to create, you know that there is a sum and the sharp corner here. We don't like to see the sharp corner. So I'm gonna create some fillet here by selecting this one and this one. Okay, so that's okay. Let me turn to here. That chain is selected right now. Oops, sorry. And then I just need to turn to here to select my tool. This is my tool. And then let me turn to the linking parameters. As a depth, I need to select. You know that when we turn to the face options, actually, it's gonna turn, yeah, it is quite difficult to select and that's point actually. So because there is no any and the curve here. So that's why we need to create an extra curve here. Oops. Actually, we need to turn to the 3D and then I can turn to the wireframe and curve on the edge options again and select this one. And then after that, we can turn to the parameters and the depth. And then right now we can select the depth position. Okay, we're gonna cut 0 to minus 38. Okay, let me turn to here. That is 0 and to and 0. If you intend to create some finishing process, you can also add some values here. So that's why maybe we should also create new tool here. Okay, that's tool for maybe selected as a roughing process. So that's also possible to create 0.1, and then we need to select as a pocket type, we need to select to open pocket. So this is going to be roughing process. Actually with that and the percentage of my tool diameter. It's an entry motion. Actually it's not important, it can be off, and then we just need to hit OK button. Of course, almost forgot that. Let me turn to the parameters, and depth cut need to be activated. And then you can see that that's not our toolpath we want. We also need to create some extra curve here to select that position. Curve on edge options. We are working on the 3D right now, and then we can select that point. After that, we can turn to the parameters and the linking parameters. This is going to be my top of stock. This is my top of stock, and this is my retract. So at that point, we can turn to the incremental as a 1. Actually, we can also use the incremental as a 5, but that's not safe, okay? I prefer to use this one. And then you're gonna see that's kind of pocket operation. Okay. And everything seems fine. Okay, after that, let me turn back to here, and then I'm gonna turn to the contour toolpath. I just need to select this chain. This is the clockwise side. And then we can use the DATS tool as a finish. That feed rate and that cutting speed can be cut and selected. At that point, we're going to be on the right side, and my compensation type can be calculated as a computer, and it can be maybe 5 millimeter or 5 millimeter or 4 millimeter. And as a lead-in, actually, we need to change the lead-in process actually, and it can be actually 0 and 100% of my tool diameter is a tangent line, is a lead-in and lead-out process. So when we turn to the cut parameters, actually it's quite easy for us to use the ramp options, and then we can also select the plunge options. So after that, depth cut is cancelled. We can turn here and it can be 2 millimeters. At that point, it's quite important. We also need to unselect linearization helical options. And then we just need to hit that button. Actually, at that point, you're gonna see that's kind of toolpath. Let me turn to my parameters and my linking parameters, of course. So that's gonna be my top of stock, and that's gonna be my depth. We can turn to the incremental as a 1 and the retract as a 3. Retract can be absolute. Let me turn to here, and then we're gonna see that's kind of finishing process for like this one. And then actually we can turn to here and copy that toolpath and paste it here. And then we just need to change my tool for roughing process, for this one, and this one for finishing process. So my finishing process, actually we can turn to here, and depth cut can be unselected, and then we can also turn to the cut parameters. It can be 0 on the wall and 0 on the floor, and then this conventional machining, and then we can also turn to here to organize our step over percentage, and then I just need to hit OK button, and then we're gonna see that's kind of and finishing process. Okay, that part is okay right now. Okay, let me analyze. Okay, let me analyze that stuff. I can turn to the curve on edge options. We can create some curve here, 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 and we can also select this one, and this one. Okay, and then we can turn to the home, and we can turn to the chain. That chain is selected. We can use the right mouse button, and then we can turn to the red part. We can also see the sum tool drilling process actually. And before that pocket operation, maybe we should create our drilling process. You know that we are creating all that pocketing operation. As you remember, I just need to turn back to the curve on the edge options. Oops. Curve on the edge options and select this one. We can also select this one. To be able to handle it, we can use the right mouse button and drilling process, and drilling process, and then we can select this one and hit the OK button, and then we can use that central drilling process. When we turn to here, actually that can be obsolete, or incremental is the best way for this stuff. Incremental 0 and incremental -3. When we turn to the incremental, actually our geometry position can be selected as a reference, and then we're gonna see that's kind of solution. Yeah. Okay. And let me analyze. Oops. We can turn to here. We can select that geometry and analyze it. This is the 5.25. So I just need to create new drilling process and select this one and hit the OK button. And then when I am turned to here, we can easily create our drilling tool. That's going to be my tool. This is 5.25 millimeter diameter. And then that's going to be my feed rate, and that's going to be my spindle speed. And then that is incremental and incremental. When we turn to the incremental approach, actually, of course, and we need to select that point as an incremental approach. Okay. Let me turn to here. We need to turn to the 3D. And we can turn to the wireframe and curve on the edge options. Oops. Curve on the edge options, and then we can create some curve here. To handle that curve, we can easily select that. Oops. Okay, let me turn to here. Curve on the edge. We can select here. Yeah, that is the incremental approach. According to my geometry, 5.25 drilling process, I'm gonna create it like this. Anyway, let's talk about Okay, let's talk about pocketing process. Okay, to handle it, of course, I just need to turn to here. Okay, let me turn to single mode here. Just need to select that's radius, and then we can easily check my radius. This is actually, and the 5mm tool can be used for that area. To be roughing process, actually, we can use 8mm tool. This is the pocket. I can select my chain. Okay, let me create it. So we need the extra curve here. So yeah, I am working on the 3D right now. So that's fine. That curve is also gonna help me. So I'm gonna click here. So this one is enough. So let me turn to here. This is the pocket operation. We need to create our new tool. Let me create my new tool. Here, that can be 8mm. And then as a linking parameters, it can be incremental 3, incremental 1, and we can use the incremental 0. I'm going to start from here. We are selecting the incremental according to my, and the rectangle, this is the 0. Oops. We can also need to be turned incremental, and then we just need to select that point. And then we can turn to here. This is the conventional machining, and this is for actually this is for finishing process 0.2 and 0.5mm. And then of course we need to turn to the standard pocket toolpath. It's a roughing process. That tool can be selected with that and step over percentage, and then that is ramp can be used as an entry motion. And then we can recalculate it. And then we're gonna see actually that's kind of toolpath here. Of course, we also need to activate depths here. Depths can be 1mm. Okay, that's kind of toolpath can be seen here. Okay, everything seems fine. So it's a final position. Actually, this is, and it's remember that that's part for roughing. And for finishing process, we need to use the 5mm tool diameter. So I just need to start from here. When we turn to the tool, we just need to create 5mm tool for this one. So this is my feed rate. This is my cutting speed. My cutting speed can be like this. And then it's a linking. This is the incremental 1, and incremental 0, and incremental, that's going to be my depth position. And as a lead in and lead out operation, that can be 0, and that can be 20mm% of my tool diameter, same as for the and the lead out options. We can also activate, oops, this is actually, and it can be normal 2D, and then we can activate our, and the depth cut, it can be maximum, and the rough step can be 3. And then you're gonna see that's kind of, and toolpath for contour toolpath actually. And then as a final, for the final process, we can copy that pocket. Oops. We can copy that pocket and paste it here. And then we just need to change our tool for this one. This is the same as It can be 0 to 0 as a roughing process. It can be 10% of my tool diameter. Entry motion can be off. Finishing can be cancelled. And this is the 1 and 0 to 0. And then you just need to select OK button. And then, oops, we almost forgot to close and depth cut can be unselected. And then you're gonna see that's kind of toolpath. Okay, that's our finishing process. Anyway, we also handle and that's pocket. Okay, so we can save my file. So after that process, actually, let me check all that stuff, what I did. And we can also see the another pocket here, but after my and the roughing process, I'm gonna turn back to here to handle it. Okay. Anyway, and let's check our and solid process. So let me hit that button. This is actually roughing process. And then we can also see the pocket and drilling process here. So this is coming from actually our drilling process. If it's possible, we can turn to here to change my tool. Anyway, it can be clear. Yeah, it's not so important actually, but if you intend to see, yeah, I think that's enough for like this one. So we can also change the center drilling tool here. Okay, so that can be like this. Yeah, that's also so important, but anyway, I handle it. Okay, that's okay. That's all the stuff for my actually and the 2D operation. Let me save my file.